And we are on Facebook Live on the F Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2022. And I say 22 as we remember our dearly departed Tata Tutu, who reminded us that to be neutral in a situation is to side with the oppressor. We hope that we remember that we always take a position, and we hope that the position is on the right side. We hope that you have all entered 2022 with good health, and we have a quick shout out to all our matriculants who wrote the IEB exams. Well done to them and their parents, grandparents, and caregivers. A special shout out to our smarty pants, Iman Adams, who managed to pass with 7 distinctions. We are so excited about Iman, who is my niece, and that's her and her mama. Her mother, they look like twins. And I think we have a picture. Yes, there we have a lovely picture of her in her matric gown. So well done, Iman and family, and to all the other parents and families. We know that 2021 was really a difficult year, but the students have really done well. I see that the results were quite fantastic in South Africa. They were saying it was even better than expected. So well done, everybody. And so here we are today. I want to welcome this esteemed guest, wonderful panelists who will be talking on a very important topic. I more especially want to thank you, Nina, for having encouraged us to have this conversation. I know it's very close to your heart. And so thank you for bringing together these panelists from around the continent. I would like to start with Zain Bulbulia, who is my brother, as a disclaimer, but an amazing person because Zain has really opened our eyes to issues around women, children, youth, and disability. And Zain sits in the Premier's office in Gauteng in South Africa. Welcome, Zain. We'd like you to encourage us, tell us what you're doing, and really be our opening speaker for this session. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Fidos, and thank you to the panelists. And I'm again on the F Show, so I'm really honored to start the 2022. And yes, again, what a lovely topic to start the year off with disability and autism. And I just need to give some sort of background to this conversation here, is that South Africa was one of the first 10 countries in the world to sign the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, as well as his optional protocol. At that time, I was at the presidency and I led the entire delegation to the UN, to New York, and obviously sitting through the various portfolios and taking it through the National Assembly, as well as the portfolios in South Africa in Parliament, so that we could sign and ratify. Well, once we had that done, we then re-looked at the INDS, which is the Integrated National Disability Strategy, and we came up with the white paper on the rights of people with disabilities. And I can say that Gauteng is the only province that has a provincial disability policy, which we approved at Exco last year. And that's one of the gains that we're doing in the province. But nevertheless, you know, when we talk of autism, it's a spectrum. It's not really a disease or a sickness or an illness. But if we go back and just look at what has happened in Gauteng, and we had the strategy on disability and moving things forward, but we also had life isitimani. So we've lost lots of people with disabilities through that life isitimani crisis. And none of them were people with autism that had different spectrums within autism. And we had a better learning. Till today, the case is going on and they're trying to prosecute or pin down basically to see where it started and how it elevated to such an extent that the people and the families got paid out, but we still need to come down to the grassroots and what has happened. Moving forward, and the panelists that's here, I mean, Lisa is a colleague of mine, and she does extremely brilliant work within the autistic scenarios and making sure that within the white paper on the rights of people with disabilities that autism is recognized. And we definitely know that, it's something, it's a spectrum. We need to still understand it. It's not like other disabilities where you can see, and you know about it. It's something that people still hide and shy about. People do not talk about it. And one person definitely needs to understand it. And if you're suffering or you have issues around being autistic, the first thing they do is send you to a psychologist and then a psychiatrist, and people just write you off. So I'm going to be really listening to this discussion and pick up and the esteemed guests that's here. Let's listen and find their points of views. And let's just, I wish you all a fruitful deliberation on this topic. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And it's so important to contextualize what government is doing and where the support is. And then also to hear from the others, who I'm sure that Asim and Nina sending us something, the others who will probably give us different perspectives. I would like us to introduce Nina right now. And it was Nina who, as I said, encouraged us to have the session. Justin, we do have Nina's video. So if we can start with that.
My spirit child of soul guidance, you lift me to heighten the realms of all what should be that wasn't, that isn't. Wise beyond words, we distress that we do not hear, but do we listen? Watch, look and feel our differently able spirit worlds guide never-ending futuristic pathways. They are wise beyond words, and then days arrive when they speak out. Speak out in words of wisdom beyond you, beyond me. The autism puzzle symbol is actually quite interesting, and we can look at it from so many perspectives. Puzzles are there to challenge and to grow intellect, unknown yet intriguing, because as you solve the puzzle, it's relieving, enlightenment. So many aspects of character actually take part and enjoy. It's like a puzzle. For me, it's not a missing puzzle piece. It's putting it wisely together. Special needs, they say. Special needs, they say. Special, yes. Especially for me, especially for you. We need to open eyes that don't see essence of everyday life. Disabled, differently abled, more abled than you and me. Thank you for giving me the chance to do that. Greetings from Bagamoyo again. And let me explain about the background of my journey in the world of autism. It all started when I realized that my son was nonverbal. Initially, I thought, okay, fine, probably just a passing phase, probably my lifestyle, because I settled in a place where I couldn't even converse in proper Kiswahili myself. I wasn't properly conversant, so I thought he'll eventually get into it and he'll start, and communication will be in order. So time passed and I realized that this was something more. I got him analyzed and went into in-depth readings and research. This is when I discovered autism. Initially, I went into self-therapy myself, and my self-therapy was through writing. I'm a storyteller, and the more I researched, the more I started to question who defines language. I realized language was a powerful tool in our times. I questioned the dominance of languages like English and other European languages. The storyline I created was all about a little boy who grows into a strictly English-only village where people are only allowed to speak English. He spoke in a language that nobody else understood. The little boy was diagnosed with all sorts of conditions, only to discover he's a spirit child. a language revolution soul coming to Earth to exile the English minority to a distant island. I'm currently coordinating the Bagamoyo Autism Awareness Program together with Sankofa Speech and Language Development Organization, who will build a group of specialized Bagamoyo in June 2022 to launch the Foundation Program for Autism and other related development conditions.
Thank you, Nina. That is so beautifully curated, and therefore we wanted to show the entire video. Are you with us? Yay, there you are. Thank you. You're on mute. Please continue.
Okay, am I on unmute now? Yes, that's my story. I'm originally from South Africa, and I relocated to Tanzania. And well, I can tell you that I couldn't communicate in the beginning because I knew very little Kiswahili. But so I can actually tell, I can actually feel what autism feels like, because you aren't able to communicate, you aren't able to express yourself. So I can relate to the boy totally, you know. And yes, I mean, from there I went on several, like as my video said, one of my main therapies was just all of a sudden coming up with the storyline, and it made sense to me. And the whole issue about language and who defines what language we should speak, why are we all speaking English? And I mean, there's so much behind that, the dominance of language and how it's overtaken the world. So we need to look at those aspects as well, you know. And yes, I mean, my storyline takes a perspective of questioning actual diagnosis, and I hope I don't offend any specialists who are because that would be one aspect to look at. But yeah, that's my story.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nina. We will go now to you, Muhammad Saleh. We've got a clip that's 20 seconds, which is from your video. But because of the sound, we won't show the whole clip. But we thought it's important for people to at least hear and see a little bit of Cape Town. And then we'd like you to read an excerpt from your book. And then you can tell us a little bit more about yourself. Justine, please.
So you're in Cape Town, which is the setting of the book I just published about 6 weeks ago. The book is called Chicken Legs, Alone's Way, written by Muhammad Saleh. That's me. And people have asked me, why did you write this book? And I have three main reasons. The first reason being is that I wanted to write a story for my daughters to know who I was when I was a teenager. I mean, did you not ever think how interesting it would have been to have known your parents' story, what they did, how did they experience life? So I documented this for my children.
Thank you, Muhammad. Please continue. Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me? I'm not sure. Okay, so should I just jump into my excerpt, what I want to read? I'm just going to give a slight background. This is picked a random piece when I was before 4 years old. My mother took me to a preschool kindergarten, and the day, like quite at the start, I discovered it would be really fun just to run around on the tables, you know, to put it in a circle and run on a. So I organized everybody in the class, and as soon as the teacher left, we were running around on the tables. But soon they came back and said, no, we can't do that. We will fall off the table. So we stopped that. Anyway, so this is just after that. The vigilance was a good place to play. Some days later, story one told Mom, Story one is the teacher. I'll just give this funny names. M was sitting in the corner by the door the whole day. He did not move and said nothing. He was not crying. Nothing we could do could get him to move. I'm concerned that something may have happened. We got in this morning, he went straight to the door and just sat there. Mom was puzzled and tried to figure if anything different had happened that day. My sister had her daughter Squino. She's about the same age as M, where we were with us this morning. I had to take them somewhere. All seemed normal. M remained quiet in the car. After Mom had fed him at home, he eventually loosened up a bit to tell her why he'd sat there. It's Squino. I was telling her how much fun it is in there. Then she started saying that school, that is just a school and you have to learn and do things. I just like that she was being me and saying, well, la capella, you can go with the mommies. So when I got to the room, I decided I won't go there anymore. I have to stop her from being alone with you and Auntie. She is saying that to make you jealous because she wanted to go and her mother could not manage to arrange it. You should not listen to her. Are they going to leave Cape Town soon? No. Then no matter what Mom said, M decided that was the end of the vigilance. If they tried to take him back, he would sit in the corner. This was the only way he could guarantee that Squino could not take over with Mom while she lived in Cape Town. Mom was rather irritated by Squino. She was sad because she could see how happy M had been there, but he knew that he made up his mind. It is okay. You don't need to go anymore. I struggle to read there, but okay. So
well done, Muhammad. Well done. So can you tell us what that is about?
Yes. So this is the kindergarten, and now I had to go there, and my mother said, "Oh, that's fun. You will enjoy it." I must have been about 3 years old, and so as I said earlier, I got there and I started playing, and the teachers tell stories. But I had a cousin who lived with us, and she was about the same age. And when I got home, she said, "Ah, you don't need to go. She doesn't need to go to school. I must go, and it's just no fun, and I can go with your mother and my auntie." And my mother is at that point was very important to me, and I did not want anyone else to take control of her. So as I didn't know I was autistic then, but this shows clearly the extreme how I used to think. It's like, okay, even though it's fun at the kindergarten and I enjoyed it, I will not let anybody, take control of my mother, especially this cousin, and make me feel bad. And then she's going to be with my mother. So no matter what she said, I was just like, no, I'm not going. I made up my mind, and that's the logic. So I was sitting in the corner. I just sit quiet, didn't talk to anybody, just quiet. So only after a while, my mother could get out what was the issue. So she needed to first get me with food. It's like, I remember that, even though it was about, I still remember it. It's like somehow I have these things in my mind, a lot of stuff disturbing, and it's so quite extreme. It's like very important, and I can't get it out. So I need to first calm down to some point to get it out. And it doesn't make sense to give up school for that. But in my brain, we are kind of black and white. So it was like, nope, nobody's going to take over my mother. So I have to be there. And the only way to make sure is if I don't go. So I gave it up.
In the beginning, where we cut the opening of your video, you say to us that you were writing this book also because for your daughter. How many children do you have? And do you think that writing the book has helped them understand a bit more about you and what autism is?
Okay. So I have 3 daughters. They are 17, 19, 21 this year. And we went through this journey, like together now, finding out that I have autism. So they understand the autism better than most people, because it was like I say, I didn't know until about 8 years ago. It started to show up more because I was very good at masking and I never knew. And when I went through a crisis, normally when you go through a crisis, autistic people, we get kind of, we default to our natural behavior. So the autistic traits, I didn't have the energy to mask it when I went through the crisis. So the whole family learned together. So they did not really learn much new from me writing the book because they know most of the stories already. But the one daughter actually proofread it and she helped me with all mistakes, and the others will read it later because at this point it's too, like, everybody knows what's going on, so they don't really want to read it now, and they also want to read it later so that they can look at it from another perspective. So, but it was more like, I think, a help for me in the sense that it organized my thoughts. So I have to look at the camera sometimes. I tend to look away nonstop. That's an autistic thing. So I'm gonna look now at the camera. So anyway, so it helps me to focus what was going on and put the thoughts in a kind of organized way. Otherwise, it goes in circles. So now I don't need to rethink about it too much. But there was a lot of methods. What I thought about to write the book wasn't just in a simple, like, I think I remember this, and in the past it was like this. I wanted to write it like a story, like you in the moment, and not talk back from the future clever stuff I learned, but to still get in that perspective of being things that you did learn. So it kind of made it, why I did this was to challenge me a little, because I like challenges. It just was my interest. So I wrote it in third person to have that distance. It's like a separation. So kind of see that separation from how I can to socialize with others, always that difficulty. Yeah. So I ramble.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you so much. I'm going to come to you, Lola. We've got the video that you've shown us. So we'll show the video first, which has the 5 steps, and then you can talk to us about your work. Thank you. Welcome, Lola.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Lola Aneke from Nigeria, and I'm excited to be here today. Thank you so much for the privilege. Yes, so the work I do in the space of special and inclusive education is that I believe every child can learn, every child should learn, and every child must learn, irrespective of any ability status. So be a child with disability or not. So for me and my team at the Cadet Academy, we are more about providing educational support, behavioral support, yes, social skills, whatever deficit skills children with autism and related disabilities are having challenges with. So having listened to the speaker before me, I just looked back and I'm like, I wonder what would happen to these kids that we are working with right now. So my organization were qualified and certified to work with individuals with different disabilities under the Individuals with Disability Education Act in the United States, where I got certified. And then we provide services for different categories of Disability, detected under IDEA. The name of the organization is Comprehensive Autism and Related Disabilities Education and Training Academy. So that's the acronym CADET. It's a mouthful, but I just call that. If you Google Cadet Academy, of course, you get the full meaning. Just like the video said, so we look at, since we believe that every child can learn, so once we see the signs of autism or any other challenge disabilities, we make sure that the kids or the individuals are referred to us. And yes, I know every country, particularly in Africa, still have the issue of stigmatization and whatnot, but because of the drive we do with my nonprofit organization, we make sure we create awareness about autism and related disabilities. We also provide advocacy. We used to run a weekly special needs show that talked about different disabilities, how to identify. And then from there, we direct them towards coming to us at the academy or to any other service provider. And then just because we want to ensure that every child learns. We also make sure that the parents are also equipped with knowledge. So we do parents training so that they can know what to do with the kid, because I believe that learning does not just take place in the four walls of the classroom. Learning is progressive and it can take place anywhere. And we all understand the issue of generalization, where a child learns his skills in the four walls of the classroom, and then it goes out and it can't continue or use those skills he has acquired. And that's why we're particular about parental involvement, where parents come in, they learn, they watch, we train also so that the kids can generalize the skills that they've learned in any environment. We are also particular about training schools and teachers and school owners in inclusive setting, how to absorb or transition these children into inclusive school, mainstream schools, so that they can have social interaction skills with their neurotypical mates. So for now, that's part of the things we do. I've also written books to create awareness on how to support children with special needs. My first book is called Special Needs Made Easy. And the whole idea of that book is to demystify special needs disability, know the categories, know how to identify basic ways we can help them, basic ways we can teach them. And then the second book is called Mastering Autism. Autism is a spectrum, and a lot of people, they tend to generalize that once you see a person with autism, you see every person with autism. So I explain what autism, the various signs and symptoms you could see, and ways to support them with the social skills, the behavior, academic skills, and all of that. Now, I also, yes, I can show you the books, but I think while I'm done speaking, while someone else is speaking, if I'm given the chance to show them, because they're not with me, right, I need to go to my library to get it. So that is a little diversion. Yes, I can show the book. So we also, the third book is called Dyslexia Bible. And dyslexia is a language-based disability. And because of the dearth of knowledge, a lot of people think that individuals with dyslexia are dumb because they can't read or they can't do certain things. So I also explain ways they can be taught using the structured reading strategy to be able to help them to read. So overall, it's an inclusive world, and everyone has a right to education, to a social life, to employment. And I believe that the best way to start is through early intervention, which we are doing at my organization, to be able to equip people, to be able to provide support so that everyone can truly be included in this inclusive world. I think I'll stop here for now.
Thank you so much. We're going to try to find the website, because I think we did get a link of some of the books. We'll bring that up as soon as we have it. Okay, Justine has it. Justine, let's just have a look at the pages so that we can look. Yes, thank you. So that is it. Cadet Academy, which I think is important. And for people who are interested, you can go online. There we are, Lola. Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That was good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Justine. All right. Welcome, Martha. Martha, we have something to show of yours, I think. Justine will just put it on. I'm sorry, I had to ask Justine to do something in between, so she'll get your link. And Martha, you are sitting also in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, so welcome to you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself as Justine finds your link.
Yeah, as I said, my name is Martha Kungu. I'm from Tanzania, the city called Dar es Salaam. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I have been in 2003. I moved to UK, and I lived in UK for about 13 years. And I went there for study, me and my husband. I finished my study 2010, and I worked in the industry of mental health for about 7 years. And most of the client was youth and old people. So most of the thing we are dealing with, or I can say the disability we are dealing with, was mostly the mental disabilities. And you found most of people, especially here, I can say now comparing there in Africa, we don't take serious these mental problems because it starts from far. It starts from challenges in life. We start getting challenges in life. We start getting things which we don't like, or we expect things come this way. They come different ways. Sometimes because of the age, things come different as we age. So you found people get a lot of different disabilities which are mentally. So we were dealing with people with like amnesia. We are dealing with autistic kids, autistic teenagers. We are dealing with people with like accident, like they go brain injury and then they go mental like dementia, most of them. And so what I go there is the experience of the mental, the experience of the brain or the mind. We always deal with the body most of the time. We forget the mind. And the mind is like the engine in our body to control everything. If the mind is not well, even the body is not going to function well. And a lot of mental issues or mental disease, they make the body sick as well. Or depression can cause you like high blood pressure, diabetes, can cause kidney problem, can cause hormonal imbalance. A lot of things can happen because of stress, depression, and different causes of mental disorders. So when I come back here, because we lived there and then we are moving back to Tanzania. For me, coming back here, the only thing I was thinking is to deal with mental and like educating the community to know what is really our mental health, to deal with mental health, like to educate people to know what is mental health and how it can affect them. So what can we do before it get to affect your health, like physical health, or to get to bad situation, like you can get like schizophrenia, or you get to deep depression and things like that. So I opened this organization called Afya Passion. So the only thing I thought, like, how can I start? How can I start to help other people to know about this mental and this mind, how the mind works and how can it affect us, how our challenge can affect our health. So I just opened Instagram page and start talking a little bit about the mental health. And then I started visiting schools, universities, and community groups, and speak about mental health awareness. So by then, I was having a daughter who was, at the time I'm coming back to Tanzania, she was 2 years old. And then as she was growing up, I was like thinking, why is she not speaking? She was 2 years old, but I was like, she's a girl. So I was like, maybe she's just late speaker, because she's fine. She was calm and she was a really polite girl and stuff like that, but she don't really speak. But she can sing. She used to like singing. And that's the thing which led me or gave me like patience. Like, you can wait, give her time, because she can sing all the songs, but she can't communicate. And as she was growing up, by age of 3, I discovered that she can't follow instruction. You tell her, come here, she just look at you, go there, she just don't do anything. Go bring me that, she just don't do anything. As we go on, 3 there and 4, she's becoming now like the attention is not there, and she start being like there and there, doing this, touching that, throwing that tantrum, and this and this. So that's the time where I was like, there's something. And my husband said, I think Abigail, she's called Abigail. Abigail is not normal, or she's not okay. Can we just start checking and see if there's anything? So that's the time I started going to hospital and checking. Maybe she can't hear. I was thinking maybe she's deaf, and they found she can hear. I thought as well maybe she's got the tongue can move, something like that. They checked, she's fine. They asked the history of brain injury, and there was not any history of brain injury. Like maybe she fell, maybe unaware if I wasn't there, but what I know, there was nothing like that. So after they did all those checking and stuff, I was referred to the doctor who deals with autism. And then when I went there, the doctor, she just went in the office. She was about 5 now. She went into office and she was just everywhere, touching that, doing this, throwing this, touching this, leaving that. So before even the doctor, she just knew, because the doctor, though she was a lady, she just said, yeah, Abigail, she's autistic. And I think what we can see here, she have to start speech therapy. I was referred to speech therapist. So she started the speech therapy sessions. So she did for about, I think, 6 months. And the lady said, the one who was doing the speech therapy, like, Abigail the problem is like, it's not really the speech, it's the attention. Because even we are teaching her to speak, she can't get the attention, listen, or concentrate, or do anything. So I think we have to go more on the occupation therapist. So she left the speech therapist and she started doing the occupation therapy. And then, yeah, so because there they do a lot of things, the thing which can bring the attention down, and teaching thinking ability, deciding. They give them challenge to like think, not just speak like. So there's a lot of things going on the speech, on the occupation therapist, including the speech as well, of course. They go like, is the package. So she was doing that, and now she's 6 years. She goes to the occupation therapist, and as well, she goes to the normal school. So now she's year 1. But in the class, she go assistant teacher. The main teacher will be teaching, but there's the assistant teacher who always like concentrate with her, looking after her, but you have to pay extra fee for that, for her to sit and listen, for her to concentrate. But yeah, as we go on, I can see the concentration is getting there. And the only thing which I see is going faster, like the step going better, is the instructions. She follow instruction really well these days at the age of 6. Like you can tell her anything. Take the dishes in the kitchen. Okay, you pour this water. Can you mop that water? Go get the shoes. Go get the red shoes. No, go get the white shoes. She does that really well. But the communication still not there. The only thing she can communicate now, like 2 weeks ago, she started calling me mom. And she's like, Mom, let's go. Mom, let's go. I was so happy. It was my Christmas present because it was, I can say 3-4 weeks ago, because I was waiting so eagerly for her to call me mom. And she's like, Mom. And it was just like naturally comes, like it was there, but she was just waiting. I think, I don't know. And other thing she does at the moment, so there are a few words now. They include like, let's go. No, give me, I'm hungry, and mentioning things, and mention all the animals and the numbers and counting and this alike. So what I learned about this autism spectrum is the spectrum. Not all kids are the same. So what we need to learn is your own kid, or if you're a teacher, you have to learn every single child. What are they good at? What are they good at? And most of the time, we want them to be like us. Like me now, I want Abigail to talk, but can I just use another way to communicate with her? Instead of her talking to me, I have to wait for her to reach that stage instead of forcing her. So there's a way you can teach. You can use the sign language, or you can, because she's really good with sign language. Like she's good, but I know I can say like I'm delaying her speech, but there's thing we do to make her speak. Like recently, I was so shocked. I was like, so you know to speak, but you just don't want to. We were touching body parts. I always do that to help her to speak. So I can touch and I let her speak, and I can go to the mouth, the ears, maybe the hand, the shoulder. So she like touching. She like me speak. She do the touching. She little, if you want her to do it, she ignore you, and she will just like ignore the game, like she don't want to do it. So I'll have to say it. So one day she was touching my body parts, and she was touching, I was saying, and if you say wrong, if she touch here and you say mouth, she just look at you like, that's not right. Say the right word, mouth. And then I said, nose. She moved to another part. So she reached to the toes, and I said, I'm not going to say the right word. I keep saying hand, chin, shoulder, and she said, toes, mom. I was like, so the thing you can do with them and just be patient. Yeah. So I always enjoy seeing her progress, and I always take as a challenge, and I believe it's gonna reach her stage, because they are not the same. They are not all the same. Other kids are speaking at 4, others speaking at 6, 8, 10. Mine 6. She sings and she can communicate a little bit, like milk, juice, that. But there's no conversation like, hi, how was school, Abigail? She will never answer anything. What is this? She will never answer anything. But when she's playing with toys,
so there's quite a bit of progress coming on, Martha. Thank you so much. I think that was wonderful for us to get such a first-hand experience from you. Thank you. Lisa, I want to come to you now, because I started off kind of with Zain and get this, government position. I'd like to come to you for you to contextualize the work that you do. We have a short video that we'd first like to show. And if Justine gets the video, yes.
Person of Action in Autism. I've been lobbying and advocating for the rights of persons with autism for the past 16 years. And on this journey, I've met many wonderful people with autism. So on World Autism Day, 2nd of April, I want people to know that our people with autism have a right to be here. They have a right to their neurodiversity and the right to their own neurology. And because they perceive the world differently and think about the world differently, they therefore can add great value to the world. And there are many great people with autism who live amongst us. I think in South Africa, we have very little resource for our people with autism and schooling facilities. And many of our people with autism are not getting the right support. And that is the reality for many of our people who are still confined to home with no stimulation, no help, except for caregiving. So I also want to make an appeal to our government that more resources need to be provided, that our children have a right to education, and that our adults with autism also have a right to be part of the social economy of the country. And therefore I appeal to people to also employ our people with autism. Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition, and it does impact on how our people socially communicate in this world. So about 50% of them don't have verbal speech or not a reliable means of communication. Therefore, providing them with a reliable means of communication is the most important and most empowering thing that we can do as parents and as society as large. So we are also appealing to the public at large to know about autism, to provide more than one means of communication in order to get a message across, to slow down language so that our people with autism can process these things. Providing that kind of support like you would to any kind of disability will allow people to add value to our world and participate with us. I also say during the time of COVID-19, our people with autism are experiencing high anxiety and frustration, and it might show itself in different ways, and maybe not appropriate ways, but no.
Thank you, Justine. Thank you. Welcome, Lisa. Please, that was wonderful. Please tell us about the work that you do.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. And it's just really wonderful to hear such wonderful voices from across Africa. So I feel really enlightened. So my son is autistic. He's 21 years old, and Martha, he's non-speaking. He doesn't speak at all. Sometimes he finds a word, but that is their difficulty. That is the disability. And like Zane referred to it as a disability for political reasons. I mean, we can call it a difference, or we can call it differently abled or whatever, but for political reasons and to get money and resource into their world, I think it's important to call it a disability. And it can be very debilitating for them to operate in a very verbal world. We all go to the default way of just speaking verbally. And so those who take longer to process language, those who have no means of communication, they really struggle in our world. And so that's one of the very first things we say to our parents that come to us at Action in Autism. Action in Autism was founded in 2005 because there was just no resource. In fact, in KZN, with a population of over 11 million people, we had just one school catering for 20 learners who had very low support needs. That means that they could speak, they were toilet trained, they could sit on a chair, etc. So for the rest of our children who were diagnosed, there was nothing. And I think that is what propelled myself and a number of parents who were in the very same position to start up Action in Autism. So it was very organic to say, well, what now? What do we do with our children? I mean, there's no justice in this. Our constitution clearly says that every child has a right to education. And this was followed through with the UN Convention, which sets out the real rights of persons with disability. And we felt, well, our kids were most vulnerable and most marginalized. So what is it that we could do? And so we had an open mic session, and I recall that very clearly. First, I wrote letters, sob letters, that my son was thrown out. And they had 7 officials there, and they called my son uneducable. And I was a trained educator at one time, and I wouldn't have even called a horse uneducable, let alone a child. So I was furious, and I said, well, now some resource needs to come to our community of persons with disability, and specifically autism. And that's how Action in Autism started out, and that's how we started our advocacy and lobbying. And through that advocacy and lobbying, we ensured that every single special needs school, you call them learner support educational needs schools, started catering for learners with autism. So it was a slow but definite push to ensure that they were opening up to our learners. And then we realized, well, okay, so now it's one thing to open up to learners, but it's another thing to help the educator support our learners. So we started out with skills transference workshops. We also started out with early childhood development because we know all the literature is telling us and the research is telling us very clearly, you start early. So we started out our very own ECD center. We have 32 little ones, and we used this as a blueprint because we wanted to create the model that schools could emulate. And right now, we are happy to say that through the national advocacy of persons with disability, I sit on the Presidential Working Group for Persons with Disability, is that we've been able to change and ensure that they have ECD school centers now being run by the Department of Education. So there's some huge inroads being made. I think that people with autism and neurodevelopmental conditions are the most marginalized. So setting up an ECD center was important for us, and we use best practice from around the world, a very human rights model. But one of the things we strongly ensure is that they start with alternative augmentative communication methods. So most of them that come to us are non-speaking, and slowly but surely we provide them with an alternative means. So they need multiple modes of communication. So not just speaking, but you can use pictures, you can use words, you can use writing. So making them literate from a very young age is extremely important for us. So we have our ECD center based on a best practice model. We use a transdisciplinary team. So we have an occupational therapist, a speech language therapist, and educational psychologist. They work very closely with the family. So we start out very early. We have skills training. So we ensure that all our parents are on board. They're part of the team, all the caregivers. So we extend that within the home so that they're not just being taught how to communicate with these babies at school, but we ensure that this is spread over to home, etc. We also use this skills training as a way to also reach to schools and educators, to care assistants, etc. So we extend that beyond that. So it's used as, we started it as a pilot program. Then we've also started a walk-in resource center so parents can come at any time. We facilitate finding a school for them. They leave our program, so they come to us from 2 years to 6 years, and then they leave our program. So we need to ensure that the transition into either special needs school or a mainstream school is going to be easy and complete. So we facilitate that. We help them with a SASSA grant, accessing a SASSA grant. Like Martha said before, that this is a spectrum. So you can find our people anywhere on the spectrum. They can have high support needs, like my son, who's going to need supported living for the rest of his life, but has this profound mind and uses an iPad to communicate and speak to us, etc. Or there can be somebody who's very verbal, able to write, able to navigate the world, etc. But they also need support, as Mohammed also spoke to us about, that they can go into default phase when they are overwhelmed, when they're sensory overwhelmed, when they're ill, or when they feel that in a flight, fright, freeze situation where they've been confronted, or there's social anxiety, etc. And then we also have a skills transfer and business center. We take in our young adults and provide them with a 2-year embedded skills program. Some of them exit the program, and the others, we created 4 micro businesses on site. So we have the center, the Action in Autism Center, and here at the 4 micro businesses, they learn catering, they learn how to set up a propagation and indigenous garden, they learn arts and crafts, as well as business skills, how to run their own business, etc. And then we also have an assessment and therapy wing where we provide assessment and therapy, the ADOS test, also any other test that our people would require. Our market is usually the most those who have no money, but we also target those who do have some have some income, who can pay us a small percentage, so that can go straight into the organization. So it's quite a multifaceted thing. And yeah, I do advocacy. We do advocacy and lobbying as well. We have an amazing that we started up during COVID. We have this amazing community of people. We ensure that the voices of persons with autism are always heard. And every single structure, institutional structure that we have in the organization, be it at EXCO level, we have representativity of persons with autism at every single board, the board of the Early Intervention Center, the board of the Adult Center, as well as the board of the Assessment and Therapy Wing. And that is important for the voice of persons with disability to always be heard. It's about self-representativity. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I mean, there you can see the experience and so many years of working very hard. And this is really what we want, Lisa. I think it's for others, Liza, is for others to be able to know that there is a best practice, there's a model, there's a blueprint, there's a way that we can reach out and support other parts of Africa and the rest of the world. So we usually, when we come to the end of the show, we ask our guests to tell us what F means to them. To me, I say F is for freedom. F could be friendship. So as I come around the table again once more, and I will start with Muhammad, in your closing remarks, you can give us your closing remarks, your closing thoughts. I know that you have some of you posted comments. As you give me your closing thought, please tell me what F means to you. I also want to take the opportunity to thank you all for such profound conversations and personal conversations, which is always the best way when we have real people with real stories. And Nina, I like to see, is that your little boy sitting with you, which is wonderful. So let's start with you, Muhammad, and then we'll get everybody give us their closing thoughts. Thank you.
I think I'm gonna give my closing thought to explaining one small situation where I met an autistic boy recently. So a 4-year-old kid, he also talks a little bit like Martha's kid, doesn't say complete sentences. So we were in a restaurant situation, and I picked it up instantly who's autistic. He's 2 older brothers as well. But so I was watching him, he's like all over the show, and his mother was very concerned about getting him like to behave correctly, you know, like normal persons sit down and eat. But he was very interested in looking at the pictures and everything. It was a new environment. And I instantly could connect with him because this is what I wanted to do. Because I was never knew I'm autistic, and when I was like my whole life, I had to learn that when you're in an environment, you need to follow kind of the norm, which and just sit quiet and not jump around and do what you want to do. So I masked a lot. But when I saw this kid, it was just so it made me feel alive. I watched him and he was like looking at a picture, looking at something else. And I immediately went up to him and followed him around and watched him. And his mother was very concerned and saying, oh, he makes these funny sounds, like some strange sounds. And she's like, don't do that, you know, talk, no. And for me, it was like, no, I also like doing that. Sometimes I hear some words or sounds that are like ting pong, and I'll go ting pong a whole day for 2 days, and I'll just say this. It's just, I enjoy the sounds. It's just relaxing. It's like a tune. And so I watched him running around, and I was like, what are you doing there? No, who's in the picture? He was looking at some pictures, and he started to communicate with me like in words and stuff. And then he took his cool drink and his food, and he came to sit by my table, and we were eating, and then he suddenly took my juice and started wanted to, and his mother was like, oh no, don't do that, you know. And I just felt that I can understand where he's coming from, because my mind is the same. It kind of jumps like a lot of places because our senses take in a lot, and it takes it in like instantly. We don't have that filter that first put it in, like in a computer, you first put it in the RAM and then go fetch it. It goes straight into the processors. So it's like, and you need to, even new stuff is coming, you need to get a lot of stuff at once. So we have the ability to take a lot in at once. And it made me so alive to follow him. And then the other day I was at an interview, and the people said, oh, you did so well to me when I was talking. So well in terms of how they perceive what is a well conversation, how I was socially correct, I said the correct things and all this. And like him, what would be well for his mother, or it's like he's sitting and eating normal and quiet, that And I think, no, that we come back to the F word, that is not freedom for me. Freedom is not when I am learning so well to fit into like the neurotypical scheme of things, and then everybody like, yes, you did great, you're so awesome. No, I don't think that's okay. I think that is even upsetting me, where I need to conform to their system, where that boy needs to conform and he can't explore his amazing ability where he can take so much in. And he was telling me the story of the guy going from the one picture to the other picture, and no one else was following the story. So he was like doing it in different way, in one words and with his hands and everything. And everything was just clear for me. I was very relaxed and enjoying conversation with this small boy. But on the opposite, when I'm with normal people, it's always a stress, and I don't know, and I have to fit in with them. So I'm thinking in education stuff, we should focus on what is good about this neuro. We're saying it's not a disability, it's a different way of thinking. So why can't we also be, why must we always be the people that has to fit into the other's way to be normal? No, it's not necessary. We have our interests, we have stuff, we have different ways, and we can also be okay. So freedom, F would be like, if I would like people to stop doing that for me. Because when it happens, it's so patronizing. Oh, you did well now, according to our way. Think a little bit before you talk and see, now you did well. Well done. Don't like this. The opposite would be freedom. That's
Thank
not
you,
necessary.
Muhammad. You actually gave me freedom, fit in, focus, or don't fit in, and don't focus. Thank you so much. So there were 3 F words there. Liza, may I come to you?
Well, the F would definitely be a freedom to choose. To have a voice is to have a choice. And if you don't give voice to non-speaking people, either by providing alternative augmentative communication, then they're not able to contribute their richness to the world. So I would say the freedom to for non-speakers to be embraced and invited to the table. Let's include everybody in all their beautiful diversity. Let's accept difference. And I think as humanity, that's the one thing we suffer with most. We struggle with most, accepting people who are different from us. So let's embrace difference. Let's learn from others. We don't know all the answers to all the questions that the world has to offer us, especially in this time of challenge. Let us be better human beings.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Martha, what is your F word and your closing remarks?
Yeah, my F word I'm gonna put on the focus, especially to the parents, because parents, we meet a lot of things from outside the community, the relatives, people close to you, the schools. Everyone saying different words in the church. They believe whatever they believe, the community believe on our kids and stuff. So parents, we need to focus on what you want your child to be, and the focus will help you to know what are they good at. Because if you are just all over and stressed about this condition to your own children, you are not gonna note little changes or little step which will help you to help that child to move further. Or you can divest them to the specialist of themselves, like they are specialized in this, they are good on this. So if you miss that, you will miss everything. Some maybe they are gifted in something, they are gifted in this, they are gifted in this. So you might miss their gift. So focus and learn the way they do, the way they grow. So that's what I'm gonna say to the parents.
Thank you, Martha. Nina? Nina, can you hear me? It looks like you have just, there you are, Nina.
Hi, I hope you can hear me now. I said for me, F is fight, because the struggle continues and is the theme of my current screenplay introduction. Shuja means warriors, the language revolution, and we shall go on. So fight.
Thank you, Nina. Lola?
So my F would be flexibility. I always say that we all have expectations, but the question is who defines the norm? So if you have very high expectation for that child, you need to bring it down if you need to bend it. And if you have too low expectation, then you need to raise it up. Because my belief is that for parents, for teachers, for service providers, if a child cannot learn the way we teach, then we're able to teach the way the child learns, and that's flexibility. Thank you.
That's so important. Zain, are you still with us?
Yeah, and my F is I'm not going to be apologetic. F those that are not inclusive. Thanks.
I thought you were going to give me some government position there, but I like your F. So I would like to thank you all. I think this was such a wonderful, rich conversation. You've really given us a lot to think about. And I like the fact that because you have personal experiences with the topic, you have so much to share from a first hand. And that's always the best way. It's so authentic. I like what Nina is suggesting, Muhammad. She says that you guys need to make a film together or not, but to think about your work, your book. Congratulations on having written a book during the pandemic. And I think you should definitely think around how that can become a creative project. I love the way that you express yourself, Muhammad, because it makes us who think we are, what is normalcy, that we present in a particular way, and your way of presenting, your way of sharing, your way of communicating with us is so special, so unique, and we have to consider what you're saying. As you would probably have noticed, I was not interjecting because I understood that you needed to complete your thought and wherever your thoughts might be. So I thank you for being with us, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to interact with you, especially. For the others, I thank you all for the work that you do and continue to do. And Nina, once again, I thank you for bringing us around the table to have this very important conversation. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.